Now that all those set screws are turned down on the end and back in the new tool holder, the next issue to address is this bolt here. There's a couple of issues with this bolt. For starters, because of the arrangement it had, it is bent. Secondly, it's not long enough to go through the new tool holder, a quick change tool post that we're making. So we need to replace this. So I've already removed the screws for the dovetail here, so I can show you the way this has been set up by the previous owner. It's again evidence that this has possibly all been made. And you can see here that's just an ordinary bolt, and what they've done is they've turned the head down to fit inside there, and they just put a tack weld on, which is actually broken, which is why it's moving. So what I need to do now is to, before I actually take this out, try and figure or measure how deep that is and the diameter, put it all back together again so that I can then take the bolt that I'm going to be using, put it in the chuck and turn the head down so that it will fit in here and will be either flush or just slightly below the surface so it doesn't interfere with the movement of this slide. So I'll measure all that up and put it all back together and bring you back once I've got that bolt in the chuck. Alright, so I measured this up, the head of the bolt I measured roughly around just under 32mm diameter. I wasn't able to measure the depth because there wasn't really room to get anything in there, and I didn't want to take the original bolt out because I knew I had to put it all back together to put the tool back in so I could turn the bolt down. So the head of the bolt as it is now is roughly the same as the thickness of this plate here. I think that's just off camera that it needs to be anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it down by around about half, and then turn the outside diameter to just under 32mm. I'm not sure what it is at the moment actually, I should have checked that. So at its widest point this bolt is, oh well, there you go, 27. So it's already going to fit in that gap. That's alright, so all I'll do is I'll just take some off the top of this bolt. We don't need to turn it down round ways around the circumference because it's going to fit in there anyway with what, about 5mm clearance, and which will give me just plenty of room to, I'll just fill it up with weld and make it nice and strong. So we'll just turn this down and see how we go fitting it in. was really having trouble holding on to that piece there, so I think I'm just going to do that on the belt stand and I'll bring you back. So I've removed the original bolt that was in there. You can see the head on that's been turned down quite thin, and I've now shaved the head of my bolt to fit in there. I don't know that you can actually pick that up, but there was actually the previous person has had a bit of a key in here that's slotted into this notch here and stopped that from turning, so I've actually left that there, and I've notched my bolt as well to fit in with that, so even without any weld that doesn't turn at all. So all I'm really going to do now is just with the stick welder just put a couple of tacks in there, and I don't want to put too much heavy weld in there in case I need to change the bolt out again, I guess, much like the original person thought of doing, because it was quite easy to get this out. So I'm just going to put maybe a couple of tacks either side on that, and I've obviously checked with my scale here that that's below the surface, there's nothing rising up there, and so we'll tack that in and we can put it on and mount the new tool post. Alright, so I've got those tacks in place and they're all ground down, so then they're below the surface here, so I've given it all a clean and wipe this off, fresh coat of oil on there, and we'll mount it all back up again and put our new tool post on. Gotta get that in line. Yeah. You don't want these screws too tight because it's just going to cause it to bind. But we do want to take out as much slack as possible. Tighten these up here as well, which does the same thing. Just pushes that dovetail a little bit closer in. Of course, if you do these up too tight, it locks this in. You'll be going nowhere. So it's starting to bind there, so we'll just back that off a touch. That's locked. That off. There we go. While I had this off camera, I took some of the backlash out. I'll show you. Just on this side, this is just two nuts, a nut and a locking nut, and they were a little bit loose, so I just tighten those up, and just enough that it's not binding, but it takes any of the free play out of that lead screw through there. Still not perfect, you're still going to have a little bit of play. In fact, I might end up, the pin that goes through here that holds that in place, there's some movement there, so again, once I've got the lathe up and running, it might be worth my while making a, being able to shim that up or something, I think, to take some of the play. I did the same on this one here, but again, there's still some movement. You're always going to have some, but you want to minimise it as much as possible. So just chuck a little bit of lubricant on that bolt, also on this platform. I really need to get myself some light machine oil or something. This is really expensive cutting fluid. Right, so the moment of truth. If I've done my measurements right, I should get some thread at the top. I'll fix that binding issue too. So you can see that spins nice and freely. There's no play on that bolt whatsoever, which is really what you want. Because you've got to be happy with that. We'll try the nut on there. I'm going to go with this original washer that come on the original one as well. Should fit on there nicely. Oh, the shifter. There we go. We now have one proper very nice, very solid tool post. Got to be happy with that. Ain't got to be happy with that indeed, and we did it ourselves, which is also nice. I need to notch that out slightly. I wish this had come more this way, I must admit, because really it does. Well, I can turn it this way. That would give me the limit of how far out I can come, which is a fair bit. But, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm real happy with that. And just to give you a demonstration, in case you need to see it, I'll chuck a tool in there. So you can see how it's going to work if you haven't seen one of these before. Give you a better view. I mean, normally you'd be doing this on the other side, but just for the purposes of getting it on camera. So that goes in there like so. Snug those down. Get it nice and square. And because we turn the ends of those down, it's not going to move that tool as we tighten it up. I can tell you, and you don't need to put too much pressure on that, but that is not going to go or move anywhere whatsoever. But like I said, the issue we've got now is that because tools on this lower level originally were in line with the centre, we've now got the job of lifting the tailstock and the headstock by the same 20mm. So I might wrap this up as a finale for this video and include the detail on that in the next one. Yeah, look, I'm super stoked with that. I'm really happy. Had some hitches along the way, obviously, without being able to get the thickness of steel that I wanted and having to weld these all together. but it's turned out nice and big and functional, and you know, I can't wait to have everything set up and running and have 2 or 3 or 4 tools mounted in this and be able to just quickly loosen it, spin it around and keep going. And yeah, I'm really happy. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, hope you got something out of this build. Yeah, I'd say if you haven't got one of these and you want one, that's certainly not hard to do, go and build it yourself. See ya.